side. Yeah, get on the side, Jared. Liz.
Sorry, I don't want to.
No, you're right on this side.
Oh, on this side. Okay.
Thank you.
Ready, all right, good morning. Thanks for being here. I'm Congressman Jared Golden from Maine's 2nd District, and again, appreciate you being here, and thanks for tuning in. We're here to kickstart an effort to force a vote on the Protect America's Workforce Act, which would overturn President Trump's executive order from back in March that ended collective bargaining rights for more than 1 million Americans. I'll start with a few facts. First, unions built America's middle class. Workers have fought for generations for their rights, good wages, safe working conditions, fair treatment, to ensure that the economy works for everyone. And this country needs stronger unions, not weaker ones. Second, President Trump said ending collective bargaining was about protecting national defense. But in my district, and probably just about every district, affected workers build our defense, goods, our necessities, the things that our troops need. In Maine, that's often shipbuilding, warships. But they also do things like care for our veterans. I'm here to tell you that these workers make America safer and stronger every single day. Third, America didn't vote to silence workers. Poll after poll shows Americans of all political stripes support unions. That's why the Protect America's Workforce Act quickly gathered strong bipartisan support. Some of the good news here, we know if this bill comes to the House floor, we can win. We have 222 co-sponsors, including 7 Republicans. More than enough to pass the bill, but so far, no willingness to bring it to the floor from Republican leadership. I know that everyone who co-sponsored this legislation, no matter what their party is, did so because they believe that workers' rights are worth protecting. They know that when workers collectively bargain, the result is a fairer workplace with dignity and respect. And they know this order undermines core American values and leaves workers open to unfair treatment and political interference. So we're here today with my colleagues and with union leaders representing hundreds of thousands of workers to deliver a simple message. Let's just have a vote. That's why we're calling on all members of Congress to sign a discharge petition to bring this bill to the floor. The American people are watching. If every member who signed on to this bill would join us, we could overturn this union-busting action and show America that this body will protect workers' rights no matter what. So with that, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, my friend and colleague, someone you heard speak very briefly the other day for about 10 hours or something like that. But in that, a key part of it was when he spoke about his own family's personal connections to unions and the importance of collective bargaining. So House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm so thankful for the incredible leadership of Congressman Jared Golden, who fights hard for the people that he represents in the great state of Maine, fights hard on behalf of everyday Americans, the men and women of organized labor, and the union movement all across the country. Organized labor is facing an unprecedented assault right now as a result of the extreme actions of Donald Trump and his administration, targeting unions, targeting federal government employees, targeting organized labor in an extraordinary way. The Trump administration's actions at this moment don't make life more affordable for everyday Americans, don't lower costs for everyday Americans, don't allow everyday Americans to pursue the American dream. It undermines their ability to do just that. We believe in this country that when you work hard and play by the rules, you should be able to afford to live the good life, a good paying job, good housing, good health care, a good education for your children, and a good retirement. That's the American dream. And no one has done more to deliver that American dream to the American people than organized labor. no one has done more to deliver that American dream than organized labor. And that's why it's so incredibly important to ensure that this piece of legislation is able to get an up or down vote on the floor of the United States House of Representatives. Because if it does, as a result of the leadership of Congressman Jared Golden and my other colleagues and the partnership with these extraordinary union leaders who are here with us today and beyond, it will pass the House. And that is a good thing for the American people. The Speaker of the House has often said that the House should be able to work its will. We agree. And the House working its will means that this legislation that protects the right to organize, the freedom to organize, and collective bargaining should be fully aired in a debate on the floor of the House of Representatives. Given the unwillingness of Republican leadership to allow the House to work its will, there is another way. And so we're encouraging everyone who has supported this legislation or who has expressed support for everyday Americans, working class Americans, and the organized labor movement to sign this discharge petition so we can protect the freedom to organize, protect the path toward the American dream that has always been made far more viable by organized labor, and protect the ability of all Americans who are working hard and who are playing by the rules to live the good life and experience the American dream. It's now my great honor to yield to a tremendous champion for hard-working American taxpayers, the men and women of organized labor and beyond, because the union movement benefits everyone. Everyone. And the American people know it, which is why unions rate so highly in popularity across the ideological spectrum right now. And a woman who has done great work to lead this effort to bolster organized labor across the country is the president of the AFL-CIO, Liz Shuler.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much, Leader Jeffries. And again, I'm Liz Shuler, president of the AFL-CIO. I am so proud to bring the voices of nearly 15 million working people in 63 unions into this room, especially our amazing brothers and sisters in the federal workforce, and every working person, as the leader said, in this country, because these attacks that are being waged against federal workers affect all of us. And I know we're going to hear from 3 of our federal union leaders who are on the stage, who have been on the front lines of this fight, and have been standing up for their members and all workers every day since this executive order dropped on March 27th. And you'll see Everett Kelly, president of the American Federation of Government Employees, standing behind me. Matt Biggs, the president of the International Federation of Technical and Professional Engineers, and Randy Irwin, the president of the National Federation of Federal Employees. And you'll hear from them shortly. But I just cannot thank them enough, really, for their resilience, their leadership during challenging times. And of course, we're seeing every union across our federation that's been standing up and fighting back alongside them every step of the way. Because we have an old saying in the labor movement: if you come after one of us, you come after all of us. And we also need to recognize we would not be here without the elected officials standing behind us and with us, especially Leader Jeffries, who has been our champion from day one. The co-sponsors of this legislation, of course, Congressman Golden, who has been unrelenting, and we want to thank you, Congressman, for your leadership, and of course, Congressman Fitzpatrick. Just want to appreciate you showing that there is another way forward in this moment where we see so much division. And we know this is the most polarized moment since the Civil War, we've been hearing from political scientists. We feel that every day here in Washington, don't we? But if you get out of D.C. and you actually talk to Americans in our communities, Democrats, Republicans, independents, there's one thing they do agree on, and the leader stole my headline. It's unions. They agree on unions. 70% of Americans say they support unions, according to polls. 9 in 10 young people under the age of 30 support unions. And they think workers should have a voice on the job. They think it is common sense to have a voice on the job. And so what we saw on March 27th from this administration was the single biggest act of union busting in American history. And it defied common sense. Just a few days after that EO was signed, we started traveling across the country to hear directly from workers about what this means to them. Workers like Irma Westmoreland, a nurse at a VA hospital in Augusta, Georgia, who said, suddenly we can't speak up about our patients' needs without fear of losing our jobs. Workers like Jacqueline Sandel, a letter carrier in Charlotte, who said, these are the jobs and services my friends and family count on, and suddenly no one knows what is going on. Is there a single working person in a single working family who is better off when we live in that kind of chaos? The answer is no. When our federal workers can't stand up for themselves, are we better off? No. When this administration puts at risk our clean water, the safety of our food, our veterans, our heroes that can't get the care they need because the federal workforce is hollowed out, we are not better off. That hurts all of us. It hurts every community. And so we have the chance right now to do something incredibly powerful, to actually come together and say, let's protect those who protect us. And I couldn't be prouder of our workers, our local labor leaders who've already mobilized in their communities and contacted their elected officials to help them see how important this legislation is. And to every member of Congress, I say, come be a part of this massive bipartisan win. Help us get this done together and show that government can deliver common sense. So let's restore these rights to working people. Let's do something that the vast majority of Americans support in every community. And let's start showing a new path forward where we work together to deliver for the people. Thank you so much. And it is now my honor to introduce a champion for working people. We couldn't be prouder of our Congresswoman from Michigan, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell.
So good morning, everybody, and I first want to thank Jared and Brian Fitzpatrick for their leadership on taking a bill of such urgency. And they are like two leaders that bring people together. And I want to thank you, Congressman Golden, for your leadership in bringing us together. Hakeem Jeffries for always having the back of workers. And I'm here with labor friends, presidents of unions where I love them, but their members are ones that I'm working with and meeting with every single day on the ground. And we're just here to tell a story that people really need to understand. I am one of the co-chairs of the Congressional Labor Caucus, and I know just how critical labor rights are. Not only for workers in unions, but for all American workers. Even you in the media, well, some of you in the media are unions, and you know how important they are. But people take for granted the 40-hour work week, their vacations, their sick days. They used to have pensions they could rely on. Every single worker in America has benefits because unions negotiated them, and people should never forget they're better off for what the unions have done. Congress granted collective bargaining rights for federal employees decades ago, and they have been upheld for years by the administrations of both parties, Republicans and Democrats. And now thousands of workers have had those rights taken away. I want to be very clear. This action is clear retaliation and union busting, plain and simple, and it's a threat to organized labor and workers everywhere. Federal employees are absolutely essential to keeping our country running. Liz gave a couple of examples. And when people just, how people love to go off? I want to tell you, people do not think about how their lives are better every single day because of a federal worker. Right. When the bird flu hits and you're worried about whether your eggs are safe, why did egg prices go up? Liz talked about veterans hospitals, those nurses, those doctors, the people that care for them. When you're flying, those air traffic controllers, your post office delivery, your Social Security checks. People get touched every single day by a federal worker who keeps their life safe and better. Well, law enforcement, firefighters too. Their work keeps us safe and strong. We agree on a bipartisan basis that these workers deserve their legally mandated labor protections, and we must come together to restore them. Our federal workforce is strong because of unions. Our federal workforce is strong because I want to say this too. I am so sick of people taking cheap shots that have no truth to them. We recruit the best, the most qualified people, and we are strong when these qualified people collectively bargain in a union. I want to thank my Republican colleagues who've joined us on this bill, and I encourage those who have not yet to recognize this isn't only an opportunity, it is a moral obligation for us to work together. We must all stand in solidarity to protect workers' rights. And now it is my honor to introduce the president of the American Federation of Government Employees, Dr. Everett B. Kelly, who has many workers in my district of a diverse, and he is out there fighting every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Always. Good morning. I am Everett Kelly, the National President of the American Federation of Government Employees, representing over 820,000 federal and D.C. government workers. They are public servants, veterans, doctors, nurses, national security personnel dedicated to this country. I want to thank Leader Jeffries and Representative Golden, Norcross, Dingell, and Casar for their leadership and for their support. I also want to thank our fearless leader, the president of the AFL-CIO, and these labor leaders that stand with me today. March 27, 2025 was the worst day in our union's 100-year history. Citing national security as a pretext, the president unleashed the largest attack on labor unions in the U.S. history. As a veteran and former local president at an Army depot in Alabama, I know firsthand the strong union ties that makes the workforce safer and more efficient. Claiming collective bargaining harms national security is a ruse to silence the hardworking federal employees. Now is the time to act. We must pass Representative Golden's courageous bipartisan bill, H.R. 2550, to restore these rights. The only way to do that is through a discharge petition. And if you support federal workers, I submit to you it's time to sign the petition. If you support veterans, who make up a third of the workforce, if you support human rights in the workplace, I submit to you that it's time to sign the petition. Workers, the labor movement, and the country is watching. I want to let you know that we are all watching, and we're waiting for you to do the right thing. So thank you, brothers and sisters. I would now like to introduce Congressman Greg Casar to the podium. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Greg Casar. I'm proud to represent the heart of Texas and be chair of the Progressive Caucus. But before any of that, I was a labor organizer, and I'm still proudly an AFSCME 1624 member. Whether you are identify as a progressive or a blue dog Democrat, or if you're a conservative voter, you know that collective bargaining is there to take care of you and take care of your family. And that is why the majority of the members of the United States House say that they support this legislation to restore collective bargaining rights to our workforce. The question for Republican members of Congress is, will they vote the same way that they talk? And that's the question that we need to present the American people. Because in Texas, we talk about some folks that are all hat and no cattle. And this is the moment of truth for those members of Congress on the Republican side. Will they vote with their own voters to support workers' rights in their own districts? Will they vote how they talk, or are they all talk? And that is the question that's presented to us, because working people in this country deserve politicians that do more than talk. They want to see us actually stand up for them. I'm so grateful to Congressman Jared Golden for walking the walk and leading here in Washington, D.C. on restoring collective bargaining rights to every American worker, and to my colleagues here, and also to the labor presidents and labor leaders for your fight in this time. What President Donald Trump has done by taking collective bargaining rights away from 1 million workers is he is letting everyone know across the country that he wants to come for you next. If Trump is allowed to take collective bargaining away from our federal nurses, then he's going to come after truck drivers next. If Donald Trump is allowed to come and take collective bargaining rights away from people taking your call at the Social Security Administration, then he's sure as hell coming for construction workers next. If Donald Trump is allowed to take collective bargaining rights away from our veterans, then he's coming for you next. And the House Democrats are united, and a significant number of even House Republicans have said that they will support restoring collective bargaining rights for these workers. And the question is, will they actually vote for it? I hope that the answer is yes, but I know that voters will hold us accountable for making sure that we do work for the people, not just for the billionaires who want tax breaks or the big corporations who want to be able to pay you less and less while they charge everyday Americans more and more. So we know that our voters want to see us put up a fight. And Representative Golden, working alongside Congressman Fitzpatrick and the whole House Democratic Caucus, are ready to put up that fight for working Americans. And I think that everybody here in the press should be watching this closely, because we hear big talk from some Republicans saying they want to be the party of workers or party of the working class. They put their name on bills like this. We're just calling for an actual vote, because this is the biggest erosion of collective bargaining rights in our lifetimes, and we have a chance to turn it around. Like I said, I'm so grateful to our federal workers every day, and even more grateful to their union leadership who fight every day on their behalf. So next, I'm proud to call up Randy Irwin, who is the national president of the National Federation of Federal Employees.
Thank you. Great to be here today. I want to thank Representative Golden. Thank you so much for introducing this critical piece of legislation, critical bipartisan legislation. Again, I'm Randy Irwin. I am the national president of the National Federation of Federal Employees. We represent 110,000 federal workers nationwide. I do want to first thank the federal employees out there for the incredible work that they do every day, keeping our military ready, caring for our cherished veterans, caring for all of our public lands, maintaining our homeland security, guaranteeing clean air and clean water, safe food and safe air travel, secure borders and secure passports, and so many other essential services that the American people rely on. So NEFI is extremely proud to support the bipartisan Protect America's Workforce Act, a critical piece of legislation that would restore collective bargaining rights to approximately 1 million civilian federal workers. The executive order signed on March 27th that aimed to eliminate collective bargaining at 18 federal agencies was the biggest assault on collective bargaining rights that we have ever seen in this country. Ever. Not just our lifetimes, the whole ever. It's union busting. It's union busting, plain and simple, on a level that we have never seen in this country. But let me tell you something. Collective bargaining in the federal sector is not a threat to national security. That idea is preposterous. It never has been. It never will be. We have more than 60 years of bargaining in the federal sector that prove that. And that is why the statutory right of federal employees to bargain must unequivocally be restored, and done so immediately. And that is what this legislation is all about. And I am so proud that members of Congress, working in true bipartisan fashion, took immediate action after this executive order was signed to draft legislation to keep this egregious executive order from going into effect. Bipartisan support has been built for this legislation, and we are now up to 222 co-sponsors, a solid bipartisan majority of the House of Representatives. How often can you say that about legislation in this day and age? Okay, virtually never. So the support for this legislation has been incredible. I want to say thank you to each and every member of Congress that co-sponsored this legislation. But now is the time to get this critical legislation moving forward. The American people support unions overwhelmingly. They do not want to see unions gutted, as this executive order attempts to do. And we cannot afford to wait. The stakes are truly too high. Our civil service has been stressed to an unprecedented degree. I hear from these folks every single day. And the critical services that they provide and that the American people rely on are at risk. And they will continue to be at risk as long as the assault on collective bargaining rights goes unchecked. And until Congress takes action, those rights, that assault on their rights has gone unchecked. So I call on every House member to sign this discharge petition today and reinforce the essential rights of working Americans that are protected by the Constitution. This isn't a partisan issue. If you support essential freedoms, sign this discharge petition today. And so now it is my great honor to introduce a great friend of labor and federal employees, Congressman Donald Norcross.
Thank you for the introduction. Proud member of IBW 351 for my entire working career, and it's great to be here. Leader Jeffries, and certainly want to take a moment to thank Jared Golden, not only for the legislation or the discharge position we're talking about now, but just 2 nights ago he voted to give back Department of Defense employees their vote when we passed it out of the NDAA to restore it. And that was very big, and we appreciate you leading that also. To Liz Schuler, who was my president back when I was the local president of the AFL-CIO, and to the international president. I'm an electrician by trade. I happen to do this because of one reason: workers in my district. I represented them as a business agent with the IBW, but then I represented them as a member of Congress, and I'm proud to do so. And one thing we knew is collective bargaining. The right to collective bargaining is essential in our world. We heard the biggest attack in the history of our country on organized labor by this administration, the biggest one that has ever happened, and then put it under the guise of national security. But it's okay that the workers who build the F-35, who build the destroyers in your district, are all represented by unions. That's the difference. That's the big lie that we continue to hear. That's why the NDAA amendment that we had to restore the right of workers for the Department of Defense passed in a bipartisan manner. And I want to thank all those members, both Democrats and Republicans, who voted for it. And it's a great setup for what we're talking about today, the discharge petition. We get to get 3 shots. You get to sign the petition, you get to sponsor the legislation, and then you get to actually do what they're doing, and that's to vote for it. Unions are formed not by edict, by an executive order. They are voted by the members. Democracy. 60 years ago, those members took a vote, and here we are, that sacred vote. And to quote a famous President Trump, stop the steal. He's trying to take their vote away. And that's why we're asking for folks to get down to the floor, sign the petition. And that is incredibly important. President Trump, stop the steal. And to wrap things up, is a dear friend I've known for so many years, the president of the IFPTE. Please welcome Matt Biggs.
All right. Bring us home.
Congressman Norcross, thank you. We represent a lot, over 10,000 members in New Jersey. You're a great champion for our members and for workers, working Americans. Congresswoman Dingell, thanks for your leadership on the Labor Caucus. Huge union supporter, thank you. Congressman Casar, thank you for your support as well. And Congressman Golden, I just want to thank you for leading the effort on this bill. IFPTE, we represent some 2,000 members at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, where Congressman Golden is his state of Maine. And those workers, when that executive order was signed, lost their collective bargaining rights like that. They didn't do anything to deserve it. I mean, they protect our national security. The worst thing is the administration pointed to national security as a reason to take away their collective bargaining rights. They claim it endangers national security. That's outrageous, and it's just plain wrong. What that executive order does, actually, it's contrary. We're living kind of in an Orwellian country right now. It's actually going to hurt national security. Unions in the federal sector work collaboratively. A lot of people don't know this. They work in partnership with management. We have labor management partnerships where we meet on a regular basis, at least we used to before the union buster in chief took office. We meet regularly to come up with efficiencies. We meet regularly to address safety issues. This happens in the Department of Defense more than anywhere else, maybe the VA too, but the Department of Defense probably more than anywhere else in the federal sector. And it helps to enhance our national security and our homeland security. So what President Trump did when he signed that executive order is he actually hurt our national security. I'll say this too about unions. Federal unions, we bring transparency to the American public and to this Congress as to what's going on in these government agencies. Because every member of Congress talks to all the political appointees, right? You talk to the political appointees. They tell you what's going on in these agencies. You talk to management. They tell you what's going on in these agencies. Management's not bad. Political appointees, some of them aren't bad. But you get one side of the story. When you talk to labor in the unions, the people that actually do the work, who knows better what's going on in the workplace than the workers themselves? So we exercise our ability as a union and representing our members to come to Capitol Hill and inform members of Congress of exactly what's happening in these agencies. And so when you take away collective bargaining rights, you're attempting to destroy our unions, obviously, and it will hurt transparency and accountability to the U.S. taxpayer. So I'll finish with this. Before I finish, I do want to thank Congressman Fitzpatrick, too, who's the Republican co-lead on this bill. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Congressman Fitzpatrick and everybody that's sponsoring the bill, Republicans and Democrats alike. I'll leave you with this. IFPTE, we've been around since 1918. Our union was founded, we represent 90,000 workers all across North America. 1/3 of our unions are federal employees. Most of those are in the DOD. We were founded down in Norfolk, the shipyard, in 1918. We didn't have a labor law then to give us collective bargaining rights. And if President Trump, the union buster in chief, thinks he's going to take away our unions, he's wrong. Our union is still going to exist. You can try and take away our collective bargaining rights. I think we're going to get them restored. We're going to get them restored. But we're not going anywhere. Our unions are going to thrive, and we're going to continue to stand strong. Thank you. Now, with that, I'll hand it back to Congressman Golden. Thanks.
Mario, I'm going to let you choose who gets to ask questions. We're just going to take a couple of questions here. You've heard from all the speakers, what it's all about, what's at stake, and what the strategy is here with the petition. So if you got questions about the bill or about the petition, we're happy to take them, and Mario will pick up. Yeah, I think you'll notice that this is a positive conversation here. They're co-sponsors of the bill, and we want them to sign. and we've been talking to them about that. I'm not going to speak for them about why they haven't signed yet or not, other than that they've been a little busy, chiefly with reconciliation. I mean, that's been with like so many things. As many Democrats have been trying to work across the aisle for months now. You know, a lot of our colleagues have said, well, you know, we got to get this done. We're focused here. I get that, but that's cleared through the House, and now's a good time to focus on other important, you know, bipartisan work and things that we got to get done. So I'll quickly note, Brian Fitzpatrick has already signed. Don Bacon has already signed. You know, we got other good people who have co-sponsored the bill, like Mike Lawler, Nick Lalota. You know, I'm hoping I feel pretty hopeful that they'll get there. So.
Thank you, Congressman. You mentioned at the top that Republican leadership will not bring the bill to the floor, which is why you're putting forward the discharge petition. Did you have any conversations with Republican leadership before putting forward the discharge petition, or did you take their unwillingness to bring the bill to the floor as an acknowledgement that this would be the course of action that you would need to take to force a vote on this legislation?
Yeah, look, I try and be a humble guy. I don't know that the Speaker you know, regularly meets with rank and file members, and particularly not those from the other side. So, no, I have not spoken to Speaker Mike Johnson about it. But obviously, if this was a top priority for him, it'd be coming to the floor. But I'm confident that some of the Republicans, like Fitzpatrick, have definitely had those conversations. So, yeah. We don't want to wait any longer here. Anybody else have any questions? I think we can wrap things up. All right. Thank you very much.